So I believe I'm having my final guest here. James Monteiro is around the corner. James Monteiro, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.
Okay. You're
Here's
welcome.
the
Thank you
red
for
mark.
having me. Yes.
Okay. This is the studio. This is our Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. What do you think?
It's actually amazed. I didn't know you were here.
Yeah, but we've been here a lot. The stories of people here in the city,
Okay.
and that's why I wanted you here, kind of to tell your story to folks. And you've been in the news a lot with the Prison Bridge program. Folks have known about what this is, and obviously at a juncture here in terms of what the next step is, where things are currently at with where it's currently housed. But I do want to back starting the Prison Bridge program and how that came to be, and we'll go from there in terms of what you're looking to do with it currently, where we stand in February 2017. So let's talk about its impetus back in the day, how you envisioned helping incarcerated individuals achieve educational goals.
Well, this is really something that happened as a result of my own personal experience. I'm somebody who was formerly incarcerated. I spent approximately 20 years of my life going in and out of prison. The first time I was incarcerated, I was done, Kate. But the reason why I kept going in and out was because every time I was released, I had little to stand on. I was an eighth grade dropout, had no education, no skills, and nobody would hire me. The last time I was incarcerated, I decided enough was enough. I went back to school, ended up getting my GED, associate's degree, and the formula I pretty much came up with was more education would equal more money, would equal more freedom. And that wasn't necessarily physical freedom, it was more so freedom of choice. I would be able to provide myself with choices. And the formula worked. I mean, one thing led to another thing, led to another thing. And I've been out here now for 7 years, and this is as long as I've been out of prison since 1989. And not only have I been able to actually stay out of prison, I've actually been able to become pretty successful, whereas though my being successful has not only impacted myself, it's impacted my family, my wife, my children, and my community.
So talk to us about what you see from folks in the prison and the responsiveness for wanting education. Now, I hear huge waiting lists for folks who want to participate in this program and currently not able to serve the amount to better themselves, get an education, and as you said, have choices, have chances when they're out. So what do you see? I mean,
yeah, there's not enough. There's not capacity to service the need that's in there. A lot of people are finally waking up. I mean, they go to prison when they're younger, and then they spend a lot of years there. Then they wake up when they're older, and like, I don't want this for my life. And as a result of my experience, as a result of a lot of other people's experience, they're understanding the connection between education and employment, especially in Rhode Island, because Rhode Island, I think, is there was an article in December of 2016 that said most factory jobs are leaving this state. This state actually is number one for factory jobs leaving it, and you have to have a post-secondary education in order to receive employment, even if you don't have a criminal conviction. So people with a criminal conviction actually have greater barriers than people who don't have education. So, well, this is what I don't think people understand. To incarcerate one male in the state of Rhode Island costs $60,000 a year. It costs probably $80,000 a year to incarcerate one female. And for education, for every dollar spent on education and rehabilitation programs in the prison, we actually save $5, $5 for every dollar. And this is one of, you're talking about Raimondo. This is one of our state's major budget crises, is incarceration and the Department of Correction. I think it's this year we spent $189 million on incarceration, and by 2025, if we don't do something, that's going to increase by another $25 million.
wow.
And the whole public safety budget is only $409 million, which means that the Department of Corrections actually soaks up half of that.
So you created this program, and one of the things that we've written about it and folks wrote about, you got the grant from Echoing Green, which is this international organization that said, hey, we think what you're doing is great, we're going to fund it and get it off the ground. Talk to us about the role of having this international funder and your experience. You were always traveling and talking about it. What was the reception, even you talk about here in the state, but outside the state, to say, oh, look what's going on here in Rhode Island. What was the reception?
Oh my God, it's like Echoing Green is amazing. First, it's like they give you seed funding, but that's like not the most amazing thing about Echoing Green. The most amazing thing about Echoing Green is the network that they connect you to, and all the supports around building out a project. They've connected me to Glenn Martin, who is somebody who Obama actually, he's formerly incarcerated. Obama invited him to the house. He created an organization called Just Leadership USA that actually trains ex-offenders to become professionals in whatever capacity that they're working. And this is happening across the globe. What is her name? It's Gina, this girl Gina. She's actually in California doing work around women who are incarcerated. Corey, I think not Corey Booker. I think Corey Green,
okay,
who's in New York. He actually came from an organization called Holla. All of these guys, they're in that documentary, The 13th. And they just connected me to a bunch of people that helped me kind of build this project out. And then also with funders, Soros, different types of funders that would fund the work.
So we talked a little bit about this week, and if you hadn't seen the article, it's on Go Local. I know we're just going to talk a little bit about here because it's kind of wrapped up in some legal issues. Started it with College Unbound. It resides there currently. You're kind of battling to take it back sort of yourself. But in an ideal situation, you know, once that sort of gets unraveled, because we know that's sort of, again, wrapped up in some legal issues, what would be your ideal situation moving forward as we're here at the end of February? You started it there. It looks like there's going to be, again, some legal decisions about where it resides. What would you like? What do you want? What's your goal?
My goal is to create an educational pathway that is affordable for people who are currently and formerly incarcerated as a way to reduce recidivism rates and actually to enhance public safety within urban cities that are pretty much being decimated by issues such as poverty. I work at Ames House, such as homelessness, crime, all this stuff. I think what we've relied overly too heavily on is incarceration. Our drug addicted population, people who need services, and this is not working because what's happening is we're actually seeing the result of I think this is a third generation from the war on drugs, and we're seeing the result of what's happening with the kids in the communities. And this guy said, he said, what's the outcome of incarcerating a whole generation? And he said, gangs. Because you incarcerate all the parents, you leave the kids out here pretty much to figure it out for themselves. So my ultimate goal is to provide education for these individuals that want to do something with their life, that are looking for a way out, to give them a pathway, and just try to make something happen.
And you just mentioned, again, the waiting lists. You know, the current program as it exists is only serving a small portion of the population here in Rhode Island. Is there clearly a need to have additional services to go into the prisons to be able to serve the needs of incarcerated individuals? Absolutely, and the thing about it is because there's no funding. They took Pell Grants out of the prison in '96, so a lot of the education that's happening in the prison is happening through philanthropy, foundations, and what people don't realize is most of it's happening from individuals who are incarcerated themselves looking to pay for it out of their pockets, or their families are footing the bill. I believe across the country, 89,000 people are taking part in post-secondary educational programs behind the walls, and that number would actually increase if we provided some sort of pathway, which would automatically reduce recidivism rates. Recidivism rates in this country are probably around 60%, and what people don't realize is that each year 700,000 people are released from prison. What do we expect if we lock people up, right? We lock them up, we put them away for a while, and they come home. What do we expect to happen if they've just been sitting inside the prison for years and with nothing to do? What do we expect to happen when they come home? What do you wish that folks would know about some folks coming out of prison? And again, people who might not have even set foot in a prison and who have no idea what it's like to be there and to come back out after years of having been there. You know, if folks don't have any awareness, what do you think folks should know? I think most people should be should know that most people who are incarcerated, say like 7 to 8%, are there for nonviolent drug offenses. You have some people, and I will say it myself, I'm somebody who is formerly incarcerated, that they need to be in jail. You don't want to let them out, and I get it. I know people like this, but you have a bunch of people in prison
that for whatever reason they went through a hard break when they were growing up, or they got hooked on drugs. These people need treatment. I don't think we need to be wasting $60,000 and $80,000 a year to incarcerate these individuals when it probably costs us roughly around $10,000 to rehabilitate them. Incarceration is not working. For the amount of money we're spending, they're just going back. So, for the amount of money, the little bit of amount of money, if we invested in their rehabilitation, they don't come back. So, I mean, it just makes sense.
And what do you think here in the state wrestling with legalization of marijuana? You say nonviolent drug offenses. You say nonviolent drug offenses. The numbers are there showing, as you said, who's behind bars. I mean, should Rhode Island be legalizing marijuana?
I had one guy. He worked. I used to work for Open Doors. He got a job at Walmart, and he was a manager of Walmart. The guy was making $50,000 a year. He had been out of prison for 15 years. He got caught with a roach. Everybody knows what a roach is. In his ashtray, and not a real roach.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
And they violated him, sent him back to prison. He lost his job. Now he was paying taxes. This was a taxpayer. He'd been out of prison for 15 years, and we sent him back to prison over a roach. It just come on. Yeah.
Well, again, we'll see. Massachusetts, approved it. They've kind of put a hold on it. It's been consistently in front of the General Assembly here for the last several years. We just had Representative John Lombardi in, former interim mayor and former council president for the legalization of marijuana. You don't hear a lot of conversation about it currently right now. Again, the bill's been introduced, and we're looking to see here if it happens. But there's so many other aspects to consider, and one of them is the incarceration standpoint. And then the Justice Reinvestment Act, which had passed the Senate last year, but not the House. I think there's a lot of attention being paid, especially because last year it sort of was there at the 11th hour at the General Assembly and didn't happen. Do you see that as being something that's going to move forward this year because folks are more aware of this in terms of what it offers?
I would hope so. And the thing about it is I don't think enough people are aware of what this is costing us. Again, I'm going to keep going back to the cost because this is affecting us a lot, because this money that we're spending could be used in other places. We could use this more. We're always saying we don't have money for programs. We don't have money for roads. We don't have money for this. Well, we're spending $189 million to incarcerate people. Some of that money could be diverted to other things, to be put to better use.
So, we're going to be certainly keeping an eye on you and seeing what happens with the Prison Bridge program and sort of how you move that forward, taking it out of where it had been in college. Unbound, again, the legal wranglings going on right now that I know you've really, can't talk about much here on the screen, but it was a story that, we spoke with you about, and it is important that you want to just, again, move the program forward.
I think that's upsetting for both sides, and just hopefully it gets resolved as peacefully as possible.
Yes, indeed. Well, again, anything else you want to share with folks? You're here, you got the audience. As it just comes down to the cost of incarceration, in your opinion.
I mean, and I mean, it's just the right thing to do, So, I mean, right is right.
So, stay tuned. We're going to follow James Monteiro when he relaunches the Prison Bridge program and whatever iteration that may be. Again, award-winning from Echo and Green. And we'll see what that holds in the future. So
you're not going to give me one of those cards.
No,
don't do it. Don't do it. Oh God.
Oh, I thought you were pointing to because I have my phone to keep tabs on the time here.
I'm not going to be able to answer that.
Okay, this is literally the card that I had just asked somebody else. It's like the hot card in here. So let's see here. Okay.
All right, I'm on spot. Love what you're doing, kid.
Rhode Island is the smallest of the 50 states. True or false?
Yes!
It's true!
Right,
we are
true.
The smallest of this.
That's it, got it, right?
Who puts these trivia questions again? Day trip. It's a day trip. James, I appreciate your coming in today again about the importance of education in the prisons, and we'll continue to pay attention to this issue and everything going on. So. Appreciate it. Again, we'll talk with you soon. Have a great start to the weekend. It's gorgeous out.
This is crazy.
It is crazy. Could take this weather to June and then some beach weather. So I appreciate your time today. We will talk soon.